Zach here from Gravel Bike California, welcoming you to one of the rarest GBC videos and a new bike review, as we're here to break down the Lauf Seigla. Seigla, Sater, Bob Seger, one of those. For the previous 7 years, I've been riding my Niner RLT frame, which has been super durable, versatile, and handled everything that I've thrown at it. But since that time, innovations have broadened what gravel bikes can be, and an update was in order to further explore the GBC universe. 42mm clearance no longer seem wide enough, one-bys have caught on unless you're a road bike, and the world has become more suspension curious. In 2015, when Cannondale released their slate with lefty suspension, it looked like you were getting too much bike, yet raised eyebrows after Ted King won what is now known as Unbound soon after. About the time I got my RLT, Niner was starting to tease their magic carpet ride with dual suspension, first looking like a drop bar mountain bike, then taking a slightly more gravel geometry with its release 2 years later. Color me intrigued, but I couldn't justify buying a second bike at that time, especially one this heavy, being over 25 pounds. My opinion started to shift after actually riding an MCR, realizing how smoothly it handled off-roading, offsetting some of the weight penalty, and that I was finding a finer line. I knew this direction was something the industry was going to build on, and that time would only bring improvements. Now in 2016, a lot of rubbernecking was induced when Lauf introduced their True Grit gravel fork into the market. This bendy shape, coupled with the Nautilus persuaded supports, doesn't look like a solution to any of science's problems we've seen before. Yet I only kept seeing more of them, and when I got a great deal on the top of the line model, I couldn't say no. I was fortunate to get the ultimate build, set up with SRAM red and carbon wheels weighing slightly over 18.5 pounds, which isn't far off what you would expect without the specialty fork. Getting on the bike, the first thing you'll notice is the squish. The Grit fork offers 30mm of suspension, and I always question getting on if my front tire is losing air, but it gets far more elegant from there. Once you get moving, your experience will feel the opposite, especially on gravel. The imperfections that normally bounce you are replaced with a path that keeps you more grounded. This leaves you with a straighter, more efficient line that keeps your tempo far more consistent. The suspension works similarly on downhills, but at higher speeds, you feel the softness at a longer wavelength, making you feel like the suspension is acting a half step ahead. Overall, it's very smooth for gravel and allows you to descend with a lot more confidence, even on rockier terrain. What you think might work against you is coming with a slightly shorter stem, which at 90mm is about 10 to 20 shorter than on any of my medium-sized bikes. But despite feeling snappy up front, the suspension more than counterbalances, taking a lot to get you off of your line, and you'll appreciate the maneuverability over time. Instead, you're going to be more affected by the fork on sprinting or climbing when you get out of the saddle. You'll feel some energy loss, especially cantering off center. That's another adjustment you'll adapt your riding style to become more efficient, as proven by Chase Wark winning this year's Rock Hobbler on a Seigla. So that's it. I guess nothing more to say here.
Yeah, no. So I got a Lauf.
Oh my God!
Oh,
hang on. Is it with the fork?
Yes, it is.
Oi.
Now, I mean, I would really like to hear what you think about how you feel the rebound, because I just found it didn't have any control. That's what really bothered me about the fork, mostly, I guess you could say.
It never crossed my mind until John brought it up, but I did now start to notice on ruts and bigger drop-offs how when more energy builds, you get sprung back a little bit harder like a trampoline. I now found it more noticeable only because it isn't as sophisticated, handling lesser imperfections, But if you're a long-term user like me, I think you'll naturally conform your riding over time, where it won't be so much of a factor. Looking at how the whole build comes together, probably the component that best complements the Seigla are the wheels. I had never heard of E13 before I got my Lauf. I've previously steered away from carbon, worrying about durability, but I'm glad I'm not being penalized for my ambiguous knowledge base. Off the bat, you'll notice the performance is fast and smooth, bordering on perpetual motion. At the same time, they have a proper firmness, providing confidence into turns that complement the suspension and geometry of the Seigla. I also got to test other quality brands on the Lauf, but I always thought the E13s were a better match for this bike. The latest version comes with the Piedmont wheelset, replacing the XCXs, and while I haven't ridden those yet, they do come in at 150 grams heavier. The bigger talk is what can go on those rims and how much of it, with the Lauf carrying a much larger than normal tire clearance. Claiming to carry a width capable of 57mm tires, that's wandering into mountain bike territory. Currently, the Lauf comes with Goodyear connector 50mm, which is definitely wider than what you get on most stock tires. Typically, I've been riding lightly threaded 45s on my Lauf, which have been playful off-road, but also works well keeping the Lauf fun factor high on pavement as well. I recently added the Rene Hurst Fleecer Ridge 55s onto my bike, and as you can see, there's plenty of clearance in the back, with even more space in the front that maybe you could put something from a motorcycle on. One of the biggest adjustments I was worried about was switching to electronic shifting, which have now been implemented into every SRAM group set, no matter which package you get. I was weary, thinking that this was just another thing that could go wrong. But now I can't imagine a world without changing gears this clean and easy. Focusing more on the group sets, there's a big upgrade in this year's models too. Obviously, the new and improved SRAM Red has been receiving high marks for its weight and ergonomics, but the bigger highlight is that most Seiglas have upgraded gearing. I'm not just talking about number of gears, as now the SRAM Red goes to 13, but coming in with a larger 1046 cassette, giving a little more range than my 44. The two versions below the Ultimate, in the Race and Weekend Warrior, do even better, going to 1052 on their 12 speeds, which makes it hard for me to talk about it without showing some jealousy. With all these models carrying a 40-tooth crankset, you'll have plenty of range for all types of riding. If there are any big downsides to the Lauf, it's more about lifestyle choices than any real deal breakers. I could point out the versatility for bike packing can be limiting, as there are no mounts on the fork, nor on the seat stays, although you will find slots on the top and down tubes. Also, while getting in a dropper post is possible, it's not easy to install, nor light on your wallet. Wrapping up, these bikes are great values for the price, but is a point-to-point sale. If I were buying a Seigla now, I may go a step down from the Ultimate to the Race transmission because of its greater gear range and $1,500 cheaper while only being less than a half pound heavier. Thanks to tech guru Troy Templin for helping me out on all things Lauf, and if you'd like to chime in, hit us up down here in the comments. Also, if you like these videos, hit the subscribe button, support us on Patreon, or go to our shop so we can bring you more. From the State of Dirt,